You want to see something big, beautiful, a little wild? No, not my hair, even though the wind is wrecking absolute havoc. Today I'm talking about a brand new line of Class C's by Forest River, more specifically by East to West, and that is the College Avenue. What is the College Avenue, you ask? That's a great question. College Avenue, as I said, is a line by East to West that is brand new. There's 7 different floor plans, this one being the biggest. This is the 3101, and kind of the fit and finish and feel of a College Avenue, I would say, is going to be a mid-level Class C. It has a lot of really nice finishes, a ton of great amenities, excellent features, but for a fair price point, which I think is super important. Man, my hair. But before we get into any further on the outside, let's actually go in, right? Because as we know, if the floor plan doesn't work, the RV doesn't work. And as I said, this is the 3101. So first off, why College Avenue, you may ask? Well, College Avenue is actually the street that Forest River was started on. So it's kind of a tip of the hat, a nod to the late and great Pete Legal. So that's kind of the inspiration behind College Ave. Now the 3101 is going to be a bunk model floor plan. This is built to sleep 8. I say that because you have 1 here, you will have 1 here, you will have 2 up behind me on the cabover, and then as we walk further back, you will see this one has bunks. You have 2 bunks here, and then you have a queen bed in the back. Of course, in between the living area and the queen is going to be the bathroom. So that kind of gives you a feel, an overall feel for the space. And I mean, as you can see, it's pretty large, right? It is a pretty big Class C. Let's talk a little bit about some of the features, some of the things that they have done in here. Now, yes, they did 2-tone wood. They have light uppers, a little bit darker on the bottom, and I think that was really smart. You know, as my friend Trish always says, you want to get lighter as you go up. It makes the space feel even larger, and I think that is the case here as well. If we start off in the kitchen, just because this is where I always like to start because I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, yes, eating food, of course, but prepping it as well, you will see that what you have essentially, one of my favorite parts is this right here, and that is the fact that that is solid surface, right? That's not going to be a T-mold. That is not a pressed countertop like we see in so many Class Cs. And again, this is kind of what is showing you, right, that this is a step above your normal Class C, is because they're putting in quality components like a better countertop. Now, of course, they undermounted the sink because why wouldn't you, right? Stainless steel right there. You have the 2-tone faucet here as well. You'll see the 3-burner recessed cooktop with the glass cover. And underneath this guy, oh boy, this is going to be the convection microwave oven, air fryer, dehydrator, defroster, reheater, pretty much everything under the sun. But realistically, it just works well, right? I mean, I don't know if you've used an air fryer. It's probably my favorite way to cook vegetables and protein these days. I do love that they're putting them in RVs. Another thing, if you take a look right under here, this breaks my heart. You may enjoy this, let me know, right? They put a shelf in here, and I'm assuming because they want it for pots and pans. Now, me, personally, I would have rather had enough space here for a trash can because I don't like having my trash hang out. But you let me know your thoughts, right? Do you think this is better to use this spot for pots and pans? Would you use this space for a trash can? If you use it for pots and pans, where are you putting your trash can? Let's talk about it because this is a new product, and what that means is it's in its infancy. So you, watching at home, have the power to actually change not just this floor plan, but the entire line. So as you're going through these videos, make sure you're leaving comments so we can make this the best possible Class C in the market. As we take a look, kind of moving a little bit further in past the kitchen, you will see the dinette. A couple things about the dinette. One is the fact it has nice big drawers, right? 24-inch deep dinette drawers, so that is going to be 2 feet. Open that up just for, just kind of show you. That's a privacy curtain for up front. But take a look at this. As I close it, ooh, see how nice and slow that was? That's because these are going to be soft close. That's going to be a pretty big deal. Another great thing about the dinette, look at that. We don't have any legs. So if you have, say, 4 people here, that's okay, right? That they're not going to be bumping knees, and I think that is that's a big feature, at least for me, right? I think that's important because I like to sit at a dinette. I like to play games, and the dinette is 42 by 68 inches, I may add, in case you're curious. So, you know, as far as a sleeping spot, yeah, it's not quite 6 foot long, but it still does the trick. Now, right across the way is going to be a sofa. This one is a little bit shorter. You're looking at 62 inches here. So I know when I said 8, that one might be a little bit of a stretch, but, you know, if you have a dog or a kiddo, then that will probably work. Now, there are 2 seatbelts here, so this works for an additional rider. Windows on both sides. You also have storage across the top on both sides, right? You can see it right over here in front of me, and then you can also see it right here behind me. So you have good storage all the way here. Something else I do want you to notice is right behind me. You see how this keeps going, how it goes all the way back? That whole thing is a slide. This is a huge slide, which again is part of the reason that this just feels so open, right? Because this is all a slide out. Now, yes, before I head outside, I will bring this in to give you an idea of what it looks like with the slide in, so you know. But again, I just want to show you kind of the reason there is so much space. Now, as we take a look up top, this, of course, is the cabover. I am told this has a 500-pound weight capacity, which is sufficient in my mind, right? I think generally you can fit 2 adults up there. No, I understand that's not always the case, but, you know, for the majority, that should suffice. You will also see right over here, you have some cup holders as well as storage, a couple of USB ports there as well. And then up top is the 40-inch smart TV. But my favorite part about it is the fact it is 12 volts. So you don't have to have shore power or your generator running to be able to operate that TV. Now, mind you, you do have a 6,000 watt generator. So yes, you could run it, but I like the fact that you don't have to run the generator, especially if you want to watch TV late at night and it's quiet hours, something like that, and you don't have shore power. Down underneath is the cab. As you'd expect, this one is built on the Ford E450. You have your center dash right there. That dash does have Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto, and it is Sirius XM ready if you are a fan of that service. You also see the telescoping ladder right up here, so that makes it easy, obviously, to crawl up into the cab. Now, I am sweating today. It started like 40 degrees, and now it's like, I don't know, 78, and I'm sweating, and I'm in jeans, and it's just hot. But if I wanted to cool it down and sacrifice audio quality, we could turn on this guy. This right here is going to be a 15,000 BTU AC. The cool thing about this, or rather the hot thing, I guess, is the fact this one does have a heat pump. So as long as it's not too cold out, right? You can't use it in freezing temps, but if it's like 40, 50 degrees out, you can turn that heat pump on. It will do a good job of basically taking the chill off in this space. Now, again, I could turn that one on to help cool things off, the AC, but the other thing I want to point out is the fact that if we actually walk back into the bedroom, there's a second AC right there. That is going to be a 13,500. That one's going to be dedicated to the bedroom to make sure you stay nice and cool. If you want, you can keep the door open for the kiddos, but, you don't have to. You will see these bunks right here. These are 27 inches wide by, I think it's 27. Something like that, 27, 28, something like that. But I know they are 72 inches long, so you're looking at 6 foot long. There are USB ports as well as motion sensor lights on both the top and bottom. And yes, as you would expect, there is, I don't know if you can see it here, but there is a privacy curtain, so we can pull that across so the kiddos can go to sleep. Now underneath, there are going to be some additional drawers. They have a space for their undies and socks and all the other unmentionables. Not a ton of storage, but honestly, when we go back in the bedroom, you'll see that you probably have more storage for clothes than you need, so you can probably give the kids some of yours. Now, we talked about the other kitchen appliances, but what about the fridge? Yeah, let's get into it. This is a 12-volt fridge, so it does run off the battery, but more importantly is this space. This is a 10.7 cubic foot fridge, so you have great space in here. One thing I will say, and this was on all college avenues, and I talked to the manufacturer about this, but I want to know your thoughts. Again, I'm 6 foot tall, right? The fridge is above my head. So to like reach the top shelf, like you really have to reach up. Like it's going to be tough to reach some of those items. So let me know your thoughts. Like, is it mounted too high? I don't know. I understand why they did it, right? They put stuff underneath. You have like a furnace under there, but man, it just feels like it's a little high. But I do enjoy the 10.7. I think that it is nice and big. You also have the freezer compartment right down underneath here. So you do get good cold storage, right? I mean, you're almost 3 cubic foot over your standard 8 that most Class Cs have. So I do like to see that. It is dual swing too, by the way. So you can open this on either side, the door, which is kind of nice. And then next to that, you do get pantry space. So you have that as well as some additional drawers. So again, right, decent storage, a lot of overhead storage, as I mentioned earlier, all the way up there, all the way over here. So that's gonna be, in my opinion, probably the majority of your storage right up there. All right, let's kind of take a look at the bathroom. We'll walk through here. Like I said, it's pretty warm in here. Not bad though. As we walk through the bathroom, you will see that you can go, I obviously enter from the living area where I'm at. You can also come in through the bedroom. And then if you want to bypass it, you can do that by walking along the bunk. So you don't have to go through the bathroom, which is nice. I know a lot of people don't like, what I commonly call the pass-through bathroom. Now there is a travel lock on the shower here. Let me just slip that guy off. There we go. Neo-angle shower. There she is. Now, what about height? Well, let's take a look, shall we? So we're going to get in. Again, I am 6 foot tall, but because you have 84-inch ceiling height, because you have 84-inch ceiling height here, I do have some additional space. I mean, I could probably, be another 2-3 inches taller, 6'2", 6'3", and probably still be able to stand in here. And the other thing I like about it, come out in the shower with me here, is that I actually have pretty good space, right? Like, I'm a decent sized guy. I weigh currently about 212, 213, something like that. And as you can see, like, I can spin in here no problem. That's good. That's more to be said than what we have in a lot of showers. So pretty big fan of the size of the shower there. You also see towel hooks right up top. You have your fart fan there. And then right down underneath is going to be the toilet. Now, just to kind of show you, I mean, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone, but yeah, I have plenty of space here on the toilet, right? Both for my shoulders as well as my legs. That's not an issue at all. Now, across the way is the mirrored medicine cabinet as well as our faucet. And again, this is huge. They put solid surface in the bathroom. So many manufacturers will try to save a little bit of money and they'll put solid surface in the kitchen, but then in the bathroom, they will try to go with a pressed countertop to save a little money, but they didn't here. They stuck with the solid surface, and I'm here for it. Super happy. You also see a little bit of storage down underneath there, so you have a spot for your black tank chemical, toilet paper, and everything else you need. But what about the bedroom? Yeah, of course. Let's take a look. So, as I mentioned, there is another entrance here, so you have a slider pocket door. And you have a lot of space in this RV. Something had to give, and of course here it is going to be the bed. Now it is still a queen wide, but it is going to be a camper queen. We're a couple inches short of a residential. What I do like is that the headboard is padded, so that way you can sit up and be able to watch TV, because at the foot of the bed here is going to be where the TV goes. So you can watch TV right there, lay in bed, and be able to rest up against the bed. And again, I think that's pretty cool. You also see the overhead storage there, so good overhead storage. And I have even more storage behind me. So you can see right here, we have some wardrobe storage. And if you take a look, the thing I do like about this is that it has this system instead of just like a rod in here. And I think this holds clothes a lot better. They don't fall nearly as much. You'll also see storage down below here. And one of the things, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but if you take a look at the drawers, yeah, they are soft close, right, all the way throughout. Big fan of that. You have them here as well. So not just in the bedroom here, but out in the kitchen as well. Everything is going to be soft close. And then I also want to mention that on the other side of the bed, you're going to have an additional window. So the thing about this is not only does this let in a lot of natural light, but also if you have a nice view out the back, you can enjoy it. If you have, lakefront, oceanside, whatever it may be, you can wake up and be able to see it. Now, before we head outside, I do want to kind of take a walk back up to the front, because there are some features as soon as you come in that are going to be nice upgrades, and some options here as well. The first one, and this is not an option or an upgrade, this is a pretty standard panel, but I actually like this. So many manufacturers have gone to, like the electronic panels, and that just, in my mind, introduces more chance for failure, and that's not something that I want. And so I like just having good old manual switches here. That's exactly what you get. If we drop down, this is kind of where the options begin, right? So here is going to be one of them, and that is auto level. So that's a big feature, especially on a big coach like this. Just touch a button, it levels itself out. You will also see the 30 amp charge controller. This is an option. If you get the solar, it comes with a 200 watt solar panel up on the roof, the 30 watt charge controller, and you get a second battery. So again, but that is all going to be optional. Now, something that is standard, and probably one of my favorite features in all of the College Avenue lineup, is the exterior, and that is the partial paint. Why do I love partial paint? Well, a couple different reasons. The first one being, man, it just looks nice, right? Like, this looks so much nicer going down the road than most of your Class C's, you know, maybe with the exception of full body paint, maybe. But here's the thing, it gives that full body paint look, but more importantly, it's less expensive, and a lot of people don't know this, but to paint a coach, whether it's full body or it's partial, you have to upgrade the fiberglass. Otherwise the paint just doesn't work, right? It has a bunch of striations, it won't stick, it doesn't work. You have to have nice glass. And that's exactly what this is. This is Lamilux 4000, which is like top of the line when it comes to fiberglass on a motor coach. And again, it doesn't matter if you have partial paint or full body paint, you get that upgraded fiberglass. So for a fraction of the price, you're getting paint, you're getting upgraded glass, and that all comes standard. And that's huge, right? That's probably one of my favorite parts. But beyond that, behind that fiberglass, rather than having a Luan wood substrate, this one is going to have Azdel, and that provides a couple big advantages. You know, you're looking at the fact it's lighter weight. Weight's always a concern when we're talking about RVs. It's also not going to absorb any moisture, so it almost completely eliminates the chance for delamination, and it eliminates off-gassings. It doesn't have like formaldehyde and other things in there. So Azdel composite is definitely a huge feature. Now, what else? What else do I love? Well, Ford E450, but I mean, with a coach that big, you gotta have a 450, right? You're not doing a 350. But if we take a look right up top here, right at this front cap. So what we have is a painted true front cap. And what I mean by that is a lot of manufacturers, they'll kind of have this look right here, but what it does is there's a seam that's gonna be right here. Well, when you're driving down the road, all that rain is just gonna be driving into this seam right here, and eventually it's gonna work its way through into the wood, and then this will eventually start to rot out. That's the last thing you want, but it's not going to happen here because there is no seam here. It wraps around. It's an actual cap, and then the seal is gonna be back here, and that's gonna be really hard for water to work its way in there. So that is definitely going to be a big advantage of this Class C over a lot of your, you know, essentially entry level. Again, partial paint, you can see the paint here on the cab as well. Instead of being white, like a lot of manufacturers go with, nope, it is black. It looks super sharp. The windows, let's talk windows. Not only are they square, which is great, or well, in this case, I guess rectangular, I should say, but they do tilt open, so you can kind of have them open while it's raining, and as long as it's not like a sideways rain, right? As long as the rain's not just like drilling into this, you can have them open and still get a breeze. The other thing I like about it, and this is really tough to see because it's so reflective, I don't even know if you can see it, but there is on the back of the shade is a silver lining. Think of it like, man, if you grew up in the 90s, you would know, and maybe you still have one today, but you have the windshield protector you put in front of the car, right? And it's reflective to keep the heat out. That's exactly what that is. It's the same principle, and it works very well. It definitely helps reduce the overall temp of the coach in a hot day like today. So I love that they put that in there. I've seen it on some fifth wheels, but this is the first motorhome that I have seen use those style windows. As far as compartments, they are going to be a composite, like a rotocast, so it's nice and easy to clean up and wash out. Also, take a look at this. That is going to be your side camera. You have one on each side. It's mounted nice and low, so that way, you know, you're not going to miss any obstructions, anything that you know, is going to be there, whether you're on the road or at the campsite, making sure you're not going to hit anything. Again, nice big compartment there. If we take a look up top, we can see the power awning, and yes, it does have an LED light strip on there. There it is, the East to West College Ave. This is going to be your tankless water heater, so on-demand hot water. As long as you're hooked up to city water, you basically have unlimited water. You have a spray port for some outside water. Fresh tank fill is going to be located right here. And then you get another nice big compartment right down here. And you can see it does have a teensy-weensy bit of pass-through right there. This one also has a drain in it. So if you need to just kind of wash that out, drain it out, you can do that. The big storage, though, is going to be right over here. Take a look at that. You get the nice big pass-through on here, and this one also has a drain, but this one's kind of recessed. So the reason I like this And this is just me, but man, if you clean this out really nice, you can just put a bunch of ice in here and you basically have a cooler, right? You can just stuff beverages in there. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty good time to me. So I do like what they have done with the storage. Now, as we come around to the backside, you can see the square tubular bumper. Underneath that is the hitch. Now, this hitch is rated for 7,500 pounds. So if you need something a little bit bigger, you can tow it behind here. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you can tow 7,500 pounds. You do need to know, how much you have loaded in this, and we have to equate for that, but it can still tow a considerable amount. You'll also see that you have a propane quick connect back here. So if you want to hook up a grill, you can do that. And then you have a ladder so you can climb up onto the fully walkable roof. Beep, 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 beep. And then up there is going to be your TPO roof, and that is going to be the Alpha Systems, the Superflex roof. So it is going to be the upgraded TPO. And again, as we saw inside, there are 2 ACs on this one. If we take a look at the slide, and I forgot to show you what the slide was, what it looked like with the slide in. I will do that. As soon as we're done here, I'll go inside and show you. But real quick here, on the outside of the slide, you can see the slide topper. So that way any sticks, pine cones, things like that fall down on it aren't going to jam up your seals. Then you'll also see the slide system itself. This is going to be the Slim Rack slide, which, believe it or not, the Slim Rack, there it is. The Slim Rack is actually one of the most expensive slide systems out there. Works a lot better than like your Schwinn-Tech, for example. Has really deep grooves in it, and it's built to kind of withstand the movement of the coach, right? They built that in. So as the coach moves, those deep grooves really help make sure everything is going to stay aligned. And on top of that, there are heavy duty rollers. You can't really see them, but underneath the slide, there's, oh yeah, I guess you kind of can. Here, let me show you. So there's these, right? There you go. So there's heavy duty rollers right there, and that helps support the slide. So it's, the weight is not going to be on that Slim Rack system. It's going to be underneath. So it works kind of like a drawer, right? All the weight's on the bottom. That just helps keep it aligned, open and close, and it's both top and bottom, again, making sure everything stays aligned just as it should. Now, as we take a look at kind of the rest of what we have here, again, you can see this huge super slide. It's massive. I mean, this whole wall is a slide. It's pretty cool. Storage. You have storage in the back. This is the other side of that, big open storage we saw. And again, you have a drain over here. This is going to be your access. So you have both your black and gray tank valves there. Right up top here, you can see your city water hookup as well as a black tank flush. Again, the fresh tank fill was on the other side. Cable satellite will be right over there. We have a light in case we're hooking up at night. And then as we drop down, boop, look at that. Another nice big storage compartment right there. That is your slide control. In the event that you ever need to manually override it, that is where you would go to do that. You can see another storage compartment right here, and then right up front, this is going to be your 6,000 watt generator. Okay, now to move the slide in or out, you are going to need to have the coach started as well as the parking brake on, and that is what we have done. So now we're gonna come right over to our control, and we are gonna hold it in, and we can watch as our slide room comes in right here. And just so you know, the other reason you want the coach on, it's not just for like a safety thing. The bigger reason is that it has good voltage, right? So you want to make sure you have good voltage. I would also, recommend, if you have shore power, you can just run that. And there we have it. So the slide is in. What kind of space do we have? Well, let's take a look. Pretty good space. Let me get out of the way. Pretty good space up here, right? Yes, I can walk all the way through. Now, if I flip the camera around, though, yeah, I can still access the fridge. That's great. That's big. The bunks are a little bit tougher, but you can still access the bunks here as well. Yes, we can access the bathroom here, too. And if we take a look in the back, yeah, we can even lay on the bed. So, yeah, with the slides in, you have pretty good access. Now, if you kind of love what you're seeing and you're like, Ian, this is the one for me. I can sleep my whole family. You want to know how much it is, where you can pick it up at, just click on the link in the description. You will see price and availability. Again, this is all new, so if you're just watching this, it's just coming out. We may not have any in stock, but just know that we will. This is the East to West College Ave at 3101. Thanks for watching. I'm Ian Baker. Until next time, we'll see you.